Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the Artist Next Level podcast. Super happy to be here with you once again. Don't go anywhere because today I want to talk to you about how to focus when it all fails. With all your strategies or everything that you've been doing, it just doesn't work because everything that's happening in the news, with the pandemic, with elections, and everything else. So it's going to be a great episode.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
All right, so here's the truth. I'm recording this episode on Monday, what are we, November 9th, and it's been a week since election, just about, right? Last Tuesday we were voting, and then all the craziness that happened after that, with the election count and waiting and see who's going to win or who's going to lose, and then all the allegations, everything that's happening in the news. I have to tell you the truth. I had such a hard time concentrating last week. For the last few days, it's just been crazy. Plus, of course, you had the pandemic and you had everything else that's going on, and it's just been hard. I find myself, coming back to watch the news or hear the latest update, what's the latest count, particularly, by, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what was the latest announcement. And even though I try myself to say, okay, I'm just going to shut down the news and focus on my studio and the things that I have to do. The truth is that I kept coming back to it. It was in the back of my head. That sense of anticipation, that sense of wanting to know what's going on. It was kind of rough to do something. And of course, I got work done. I had to get work done, but I have to tell you, it was really hard. So I want to talk in this episode a little bit about, what to do when you are in a situation like this one. Right now, maybe politics, but, other times could be something that's happening in the family or something that's happening also in your town or whatnot, right? There's anticipation, there's distraction, there's all these things that are pulling you away. So how do you actually get things to work, right? Because it could, all the strategies that you have sometimes don't work, or the things that you have been doing, at least for me, I'm pretty good at organizing my day and getting things done and, do everything that I have to do. However, when situations like this happen, that my attention was going in all directions, I really had to do something beyond what I normally do, to make myself stay on track, stay focused. And I don't know about you, but I'm an artist who is a distracted artist. I would categorize myself as a distracted artist. You can ask my wife that, and she will, for sure assert to that. In terms of that, I'm easily distracted when I'm focused on doing something. A notification pops up or something here calls me or whatnot, and my brain starts to, in the split of a second, go into a whole different direction. And then I have to find myself pulling back, into what I was doing. And that's just my typical day, how it works for me. I'm kind of distracted. So I do a lot of things, to keep me on track. And I have actually here in the Artist Next Level podcast and also in my Breakfast with Sergio show, I have talked a number of times about strategies on how to stay focused, how to stay organized throughout your day. So you can go back and check those out. I have talked a number of times about this. But in this episode, again, I want to focus about kind of like when you have to go to the extreme, right? When everything that you have been doing and that I have been talking about here is kind of not working and it's just pulling me. And it happened to me specifically last week, as I was going through my daily routines, the things that I normally do to stay on track and to do the things that I had to do. And I found often that, by the end of the day, looking back, like, geez, I feel like the day wasn't long enough. I feel like I didn't do much. I feel like, I was just running around in circles or getting distracted. And even though I tried to pull myself back in, I just felt, day after day that I was just not being productive and I was just wasting time or running in circles. I don't even know how to explain it, but probably you know what I mean because you probably had those days. Maybe you had the same situation here with also with the elections here in the United States. I don't know, but again, depends where you are in the world. You understand that those things sometimes happen. So what I had to do, to correct this situation, first thing, I think the first thing you have to do is acknowledge, right, the fact that there are forces that are, calling for your attention. And those things you cannot change. I cannot say, okay, hurry up with the count and tell us who's the next president. I cannot do that, right? That's impossible. So first thing is acknowledging, okay, I had to acknowledge the reality that this was going to be a long trajectory. Particularly when they start saying in the news, like, oh, there's still a few days to come, and there's a few days. And then you have also the contentions of, fraud and all these things that you see in the news, right? Depends what news you're looking at. And actually, I was, as we were going through that, I was going and watching different news channels and news sources, to get a broader perspective, not just from one particular point of view. So that added more to the distraction, of course. Like I would say, oh, let me see what they're saying in CNN. Oh, let me see what they're saying in Fox. Or let me see what they're saying in NPR, right? Just to broaden my spectrum of the larger conversation. And then I would go in YouTube and see what others were saying there. So, but again, that all added to it. So first thing for me was realizing, okay, I'm just wasting too much time. It's not being productive. Just acknowledging it, was like first step. Once I figured out, okay, this is going to be a while. And even after the announcement of the election, there's still going to be a lot of politics, a lot of talk, a lot of things going around. So, even that's going to extend. And of course, we are right now a week after, and, that is still continuing, and all the politics never end, right? That's the first thing. Politics never end. So acknowledging that, there's going to be a lot more happening and coming and going. So once I accepted that, like, okay, what can I do next to really get back in focus, get back in gear, pull myself back into a rhythm that I can move on, because the things that I normally do are just not enough. So what I actually did, and this is kind of an extreme case, and maybe it can work for you, maybe not. So I wanted to just come here and share it with you, right? Because it's working for me. And as you know, here in the Artist Next Level podcast and everything that I do, all my content is about the things that I try. And if they work, I share it. And when things don't work, I also share them so that you don't make the same mistakes I've done. So what I did is I actually went and looked at my schedule, my daily activity, and I say, okay, tomorrow, right, looking at the next day, how can I organize my next day kind of hour by hour, so that I can look at that throughout the day and say, okay, from this time to this time, I'm going to be working on this. From this time to this time, I'm going to be working on that. And having that sense of schedule will help me to stay on track, right? Versus having a to-do list, which I normally have a list of things I want to accomplish during the day. Like, for example, record this podcast, maybe one. Achieve inbox zero, meaning like go through all my emails on Mondays. It's another one. For example, going into my coaching platform, the Art Next Level Academy, and answer questions, help artists. That's another one. So those are the normal things that I do and that I have, and pretty much keep me on track. But when all distractions happen, I came to the realization that half of those things were not getting done as they used to, because I was spending too much time on the few things, because I kept, being distracted, and my mind just was somewhere else. So what I did is I went in and using my notepad, kind of accounted hour by hour, starting from the time I wake up. So I say, okay, from the time I wake up, I'm going to wake up, and from the first 15 minutes just to get ready and go downstairs and prep my mind, right? So with prayer, meditation, kind of things that I do every morning. Then from there, I allowed in my time, okay, now 45 minutes exercise. So I put exact time, what time I was going to do exercise, and what time I was going to end exercise. And then for breakfast time, okay, how much time I'm going to have for breakfast? I allowed myself time for breakfast, because that also was happening too, that, I would have my breakfast in the morning. And as you know, that's why I have breakfast with Sergio Shocks. I love breakfast. I don't skip it. It's one of the things I can't skip. I really enjoy it. So I would spend a lot more time in breakfast, because that's when I was checking in the news and of course, then that just push everything back. So I say, okay, I'm gonna allow myself, this much time for breakfast, and then after breakfast, this much time to get ready, and after that, maybe at 8:30 in the morning, I'm gonna start and I'm gonna do from 8:30 to 9 is my social media time to go and post my post for the day, not to go and see what everybody else is doing, but just to do the post of the day, which is another problem too, and that we need to acknowledge, right? When tensions are high in politics, social media is one of the things that when you go in it, is going to absorb you, is going to suck you in, is going to, pull you in, because the moment you log in, all of a sudden you see a post from one of your friends that maybe you agree with and you want to comment on, or maybe you see a post from one of your friends that you don't agree with and then you want to comment on, or you're surprised that your friend posted that or that, or maybe you posted something and then other people came and commented, and all of a sudden now that became a huge discussion or whatnot. So that's a big problem, right? So acknowledging as an artist, when I'm going in social media in the morning, I'm going for business. I'm not going, for entertainment. And that's something I've always done in the morning. When I go and do my post, I always look at it, okay, I'm going for business. I'm right now in business mode. So what I have to do is I schedule from 8 to 8:30, for example, in the morning. This is my time for business. So I go and make my post, look for the image that I want to post for the day. I have enough time to think of a thoughtful description for that post, and then make the post, look for my hashtags that I want to use. I use Creative Studio, by the way, Facebook Creative Studio, which works great. You can schedule posts to both Facebook and Instagram business accounts. So I go and do that, schedule the post, and then I go take the same information, go to Facebook, just tweak it a little bit, remove the hashtags, schedule the post. I will also go to LinkedIn, take the same information, same image, adapt it a little bit for LinkedIn, and push it out there to LinkedIn as well. And that's, how, and sometimes to Twitter too. I might do the same thing. So like half hour was plenty of time to figure out my image, a great caption, my hashtags, and then distribute it, get it out there, right? And then from there, once it's on Instagram, then go back in, share it to my Instagram stories, and then put one of those stickies that would say, like new post or check it out or something like that, right? Just so the idea is that every day my stories should have something, right? And I think if you really want to get the best use of Instagram, which is something I have also talked in previous episodes, make sure that every day you have stories going. Stories are super important, again, to keep your account going. So I would do that, schedule that a lot of time, and then when the time run out, so at 8:30, say, okay, 8:30 is out, I'm out of here, right? I'm done. I'm not going to stay and start commenting on the latest news, or, starting an argument with somebody, or responding to somebody who didn't agree with me, whatever, right? I would just ignore all that, because I went in with the business mindset of what I came for, and with my allocated time, say, okay, now 8:30 is done, moving to the next task. So I would, again, check on my schedule and say, okay, what did I put after that? Maybe after that I had a Zoom call. So go in, prepare for the Zoom call, do my Zoom call, be done with that, maybe a coaching call, maybe an interview, whatever maybe that I'm doing for that day in the Zoom call, and then, moving to the next thing. So scheduling that, and also scheduling myself plenty of time for lunch. So normally on a typical day, I don't put myself a lunch time, because I'm pretty good, as having a rhythm throughout my day. I just have my lunch around 12-ish, 12:30-ish, 1-ish, and I don't have a specific amount of lunch time. I, just go and eat, and then after that, when I'm done, just continue working, go back in the studio, or go keep recording, or whatever I'm doing that day. So, but this time, again, because the whole goal of my schedule was to keep me away from all these distractions, I had to be pretty tight, almost like military style, to tell you the truth, like being in military school, but I had to do that to myself, right? Nobody told me to do it. Nobody gave me the instructions. Nobody's watching my time. It's just me, right? It's just me, just giving this to myself so that I can perform at my highest capacity on a given day. So what I would do then, give myself an hour lunch, so which is more than enough. Typically, I only take half hour, maybe the most, but I give myself full hour, so I have time to eat, relax, maybe do something. Right now, the weather's still nice here in Chicago. It hasn't been really cold just yet, so maybe I can take a little walk outside or take the dog out, and or it gives me some free time to do something during my lunchtime. Maybe at that point, if I want to catch up on the news of the day, I can do that within that hour. Once that hour is done, then I have my next thing. I schedule it at 1 p.m. So at 1, let's say, maybe studio work, or maybe I'm preparing the canvas or the surface. So I would do that from maybe 1 to 3 p.m. And so that would be my studio time. And in the studio, I would then focus on the task, right? Not use my studio time to then catch up on more news or see what's the latest count on Pennsylvania or whatnot, right? But really focus on that out. And doing that all the way to, I would get to the end of the day of my, as a working day, so that then after that I will also have more free time to then, catch up again or do anything that I want to do with the family or with the kids or whatnot after those hours that I'm officially done with my work. And that's extreme case. To tell you the truth, I have actually never done that before, to that minute by minute thing. I mean, I have, like I said, have to-do list, things that I want to do in the morning and the afternoon. If I have appointments, I would put appointments, of course. But I had never really been so really so tight on my schedule, and also so confined to minute by minute specific tasks. And I have to tell you the truth, it's not easy. It's like, I feel like, why am I doing this to myself? But at the same time, when I look back, like, wow, I actually got a lot of stuff done. I actually feel good about the things that I had to get done and accomplish. I am actually doing this podcast exactly in the time that I allow myself to do it, right? So I gave myself 30 minutes to record the podcast, and that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So at the end of my time, I will, close the podcast, of course, save it and do what needs to be done to be uploaded, and be done with this, moving on to the next thing on that schedule. So again, this is a strategy that I wanted to share with you because it's working really good for me right now in these times of tension, in these times of distraction, in these times of something. And it's a kind of extreme measure, right? Because you have to be accountable to yourself. It will be really easy for me to say, oh, screw it, who's watching, right? Who's counting? Nobody, right? But to really be accountable to myself at the end of the day and say, I actually accomplished this, it's very nice. It's very also fulfilling, right? When you can do that. And then, recognizing when you can start losing up again. Say, okay, once I feel like, okay, I'm in a rhythm again, my mind is back in focus and I'm getting things done, then I can relax and not be so tight on my minute by minute, activity or schedule. And then at the same time, allowing yourself time to relax, to give space for yourself as well as an artist. I think something that we all need to do. We cannot be all work. I will always say, relax as hard as you work. If you work hard, you should relax hard as well. And this is kind of a side note, but something that we have been actually practicing, because my wife also, as an entrepreneur, and you have met her here, she has been a guest before, and actually she will be a guest again. I asked her if she could come and give us some help in a future episode. She's a wellness psychologist. She does mindset. So she's an entrepreneur. She has her own business too. So we're both working from home. Here in my home, my studio is right next door from my recording studio here at the house. So I can just walk and do that work. And then there are certain days in the week when I go to my art gallery to work from the gallery. But the rest of the time, particularly during the pandemic, I cannot arrange so everything happens here from home. I can manage most of my businesses here from home. So what we have done is, because when we realized, of the pandemic, and now it was so easy when you're working from home and when you work as an artist that, all the days blend. Monday is the same as a Thursday, as a Sunday, as a Friday. So it was hard to really take time to relax and to also put yourself in another mindset, because we don't have big events as we used to. There's no openings, there's no big parties, there's no big anything anymore, at least not for now. So what we have decided to do is once a month we do what we call a wellness day. So we do a wellness day, in which in that wellness day we dedicate at least the working hours of the day to a wellness activity, which could be something as simple as a walk in the park. For example, a couple months ago we went to the Garfield Park Conservatory here in Chicago, and we did they had a thing of a garden, a Van Gogh garden. So we did that, and after that we went for lunch, and then we just walk around, just taking the day to, take care of our wellness and our mindset in a very proactive way. And that had really helped. That really helped a lot. And what we're doing, since they're both of us, we take turns to plan it. Right, 1 month she plans the wellness day, and another month I plan the wellness day. But if you work by yourself, you're an artist, you're working alone, you can do that too. Schedule a day in your month. Maybe pick the first month of or the first week of the month, or the last, whatever works for you. Put it in your schedule as something that you want to do, and then schedule your wellness days. And on that day, pick something that will give you, peace and joy, and something that you can do outside of your normal rhythm, outside of the house. For example, that's a good time where you can do a lot of Google, and see what's around your town, your city, that maybe you haven't done. Maybe there's some really great outdoor activities you haven't done. For example, we last month or so we went to a garden that I had never been to. That's actually not too far from our home. So they had visiting hours. It's outdoor gardens, beautiful scenery. There's a little beautiful lake, and so we did a walk. It's like a little trail, and that was so nice, so relieving. Going out to nature and doing things like that. So again, it's not a vacation. It's just a one day during business hours in which we just go and we have our wellness day. Then we have lunch somewhere, or we pick up lunch, bring it, whatever that could look for you. Maybe it could be a day for treat yourself to a great massage, or something that maybe you invite a friend and go out with a friend somewhere. So think about that, put it in your schedule, because that is also as important, particularly in times like this where too many voices are around us and calling our attention, to take care of yourself. So my friends, I want to wish you all, the best in this tumultuous time. As we deal with the pandemic, I know a lot of our friends in Europe are right now also going to a second lockdown, and I know how hard that is. I coach a lot of artists also outside of the United States, many who are in Europe, and I know it's hard. It's very difficult for you guys over there. And here, in United States also, right now we have elections, plus the pandemic, of course. So there's a lot of tension in the air, and those things can take a toll on our work, on our focus as artists. And I want to wish you, my friends, to all the best. Stay focused, stay calm. Take care of your mindset, take care of your wellness, take care of your body. Make sure you eat well. That's another thing I didn't even talk about that, but in my daily routine, I have certain foods and things, supplements that I take every day, to also keep my body in check, because it's so easy as artists to forget about our body, and we don't eat right, we don't eat well, and then we don't feel great, right? Makes things worse. Too much sugar we put in our bodies. So, all those things are so important, and I hope you're taking care of them whichever best way you believe is good for you. And with this, I want to wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast today. Please, if this is something that it was useful for you, if you've been like me, kind of like all over the place, and you really want to tighten it up and you want to try this technique, really get it down to minute by minute activity, give it a try. Hey, the worst that can happen is that if it doesn't work for you, and then you say, okay, I'm not going to do it. It doesn't work for me. That's fine, but at least you gave it a try, and you see if this works. It's about self accountability at the end of the day, right? Because nobody's out there, with a time clock seeing your performance. It's something that you have to be accountable to yourself, and you have to exercise self-discipline in order to do it. And lastly, my friend, if you are not in my texting community, if you're an artist in the United States or Canada, and if you are not part of my texting community, I actually invite you to be part of it and to join. All you have to do is text me at 708-627-9103. Again, text me at 708-627-9103. Let me know about this podcast. Let me know how you like this episode, how you like this podcast. If you have any questions for me after this episode, please text them to 708-627-9103. We'd love to hear from you. It's a really cool texting community. Like a couple of weeks ago, I had a secret hashtag over the weekend for my texting community where I selected tons of art to share on my Instagram stories for that weekend. It was pretty awesome, and it was only for my texting community. So I'll have a lot of surprises like that, like impromptu Zoom calls, stuff like that. So just check it out. Again, 708-627-9103. We'd love to hear from you very soon. Have a great day, and I will see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.